I think the government has very rightly taken some hard decisions, and it's been a big period of big bang reforms. Now recently we've had the recapitalisation of the banks also. So I do feel very optimistic that investments will start happening now, and Achhe Din will really come back.
Mr. Goenka, when do you see growth really returning on the ground? Are you seeing demand picking up? You lead a diversified conglomerate. What is the sense that you get when it comes to the demand perspective on the ground?
June to September was kind of subdued, but October we can see things normalizing, and we are very optimistic that from January onwards the demand will come in full swing.
Mr. Goenka, how has GST impacted your business? With every ambitious reform, there are bound to be niggles in the early days. Do you think the government has done enough to iron the creases around GST?
So we have had some early pains in June, July. Primarily the tire industry has been very badly affected, but over the medium term and long term, I think the GST is the best thing that could have ever happened for the economy. And I believe that in all our businesses, GST will stand good for us.
So you mentioned specifically the tire industry as part of your conglomerate. What about the impact of GST on some of the other businesses like IT and a few other verticals?
The IT industry will hardly get affected this way or that way, but let us say the infrastructure industry will have a big fillip. The energy industry is going to be well served by the GST. So FMCG again is great for GST is great for it. So all in all, I think GST has been a great boon. We are not realizing that it will take some time for the niggling issues to settle down, and I'm sure it will happen very soon.
Mr. Goenka, there's one major reform process other than the GST that has now kicked in. That is, of course, the IBC, or the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. Now, under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, there are several stressed asset cases spread across several sectors. Many suitors, including corporates and conglomerates, are looking at some of these assets as a potential value buy. Are you looking at the stressed asset space in any way?
No, we are not looking at any of the stressed assets, because if you look at it, it's primarily in power generation or steel and the like. And we are not in those sectors, nor do we want to get into those sectors. But I think it's a very sensible step that the government has taken, because these NPAs resolution must take place sensibly. And I do hope that in the next couple of months, something good will come out of it.
One last question, Mr. Goenka. You referred to it a little earlier. The entire recapitalization of PSU banks by the government. Do you think that will perhaps address the NPA menace to a great extent, because banks needed capital?
It will do two things. On the one hand, yes, of course, the NPA issues will get a large part solved. But more important than that, the banks will have the money to lend and the courage to lend. What is really required is the courage, because after these NPAs, there is hesitation in front of the banks to lend freely, and that's what is needed. I think there's a mind change also which is necessary.